Hari Om, Namaste, a warm welcome to day 69 of 108 days of Surya Namaskara or Sun Salutations Challenge. Today, we move on our discussion on the niyamas, and yesterday we talked about santosha or contentment, how supreme joy is attained when one is established in contentment, and we discussed in details why so. If you haven't watched that video yet, watch it here and you will find what I'm talking about. So today we move on to the third of the 5 niyamas or self-discipline, which is tapas, one of my favorite, maybe because I had more heat inside of me. I have lots of pitta within me. It's the tapas is austerity, practices, sincere practices that brings on heat inside of you. Tapas means austere practices or your sadhana that generates heat, burns out all the junk and gunk and all the sluggishness and get things done with the sharpness of the heat. Okay, and we will see what happens when a yogi is established in tapas. Yeah, but before that, we have our yogasana, the sun salutations flow. Let's get that done first, and let's first move our body. Let our body have that energy flowing freely inside, like with all the prana, all the srotas, they are functioning properly. Our manovaha srota, the mind will also then will have more clarity to understand things. With that, meet me on the mat. the yoga philosophy section of day 69 of 108 days of Surya Namaskara or Sun Salutations Challenge. Today in this session we will talk about the third of the 5 niyamas, which is the tapas or austerity, austere practices, the intense sadhana that generates heat within the body to burn out all the nonsense from our lives. Very important. So as usual, let's first learn the sutra itself, the meaning of it, and then we go to its purport. So sutra number 43 of the second chapter of Maharishi Patanjali's Yogasutras, that is the Sadhana Pada, second chapter, Sutra 43, talks about tapas. What happens when one is established in tapas? Kāyendriyasiddhiraśuddhikṣayāttapasah. kāyendriyasiddhiraśuddhikṣayāttapasah. So from tapas, from being established in austere sadhana, austere spiritual practices, intense sadhana, intense spiritual practices, from being established in that, by means of dissipating or by means of removing all the impurities, one gains a mastery over body and mind. Here they don't say mind, kaya, indriya, body and senses. Senses in turn means mind. Why? Because the senses in and of itself are sattvic. They don't do anything. They are just receiving information. Suppose I am looking at you, but my mind is somewhere else. So I am not actually watching, I am just seeing. Suppose you are saying something or I am saying something, suppose you are hearing, but your mind is somewhere else, so you are not listening to. You see? So the indriyas get fulfillment only when the mind attaches to it. Right? So kaya indriya ashuddhikṣayāttapasah. Kaya indriya siddhi ashuddhikṣayāttapasah. The siddhi means mastery. The mastery over the kaya, the body, and indriya means in turn the mind happens only when the ashuddhi means the impurities in them are done away with. Then how does it happen? From tapas. Tapasah means from tapas, from the austere practices. Because see, why one would not have mastery over the body mind? Like when does one not have mastery over body mind? Suppose in this beautiful Kathopanishad example of the whole body being a chariot, right? The 5 horses are the 5 senses, and then the reins of the horses are our mind, and there is the charioteer. There is the charioteer who is driving the horses, right? That is the buddhi, our intellect. And then whoever is on the chariot, that is our supreme soul, who is just the observer. They are not doing anything much. Okay? So the whole body is being driven to what we do in different actions is because the horses are running. And how is the horse running? Because the buddhi, the intellect is giving instructions by the reins to the horses. Do this, do that. But when is the mastery not there over the indriyas, over the horses? When there is no charioteer, means our intellect is not present. What does it mean? Our intellect is hijacked by our ignorance. So the mind takes over and gets the indriyas to whatever it likes. We are not the master of our mind, but the mind becomes the master of us. Dangerous situation. It's a great servant, but a deadly master, the mind. Okay, so what will happen? The horses will end up here and there, anywhere, and anywhere is not a good place to go, right? Suppose you don't want to binge watch something and you know it will waste a lot of time, a lot of valuable time for you, but you still end up binge watching something. It happens to all of us in various extents, right? Happens to me also sometimes, but I'm just saying why it happens. We have to understand, because our intellect is not strong enough to tell to the mind that stop watching this now because you have something else to do, because we are clouded, deluded by our ignorance. So the buddhi, the intellect, which is the charioteer, the sarathi that runs the chariot, they are hijacked. Okay, that is hijacked, and the mind does its own thing. It telling the tongue to eat whatever it likes, even if it's not good for our body. It is telling the skin to take whatever touch we are having, like to mingle with whoever we like in a mindless way. And then it asks to watch us whatever nonsense there is happening, and we can just consume it. Whatever nonsense is happening, we can just keep listening it. Or even if it's foul smell, it can tell us just keep smelling it, like that. Okay, so it keeps the senses busy in nonsense things, even if we don't want to do it, because the intellect is not present there to control the senses. Now Maharishi Patanjali in this Sutra 43, right, he gives very precise instruction and very precise. It's a very precise aphorism. Every sutra is very precise, right? Not beating around the bush, just striking the target, saying that by austere practices, when we are doing our sadhana, like the yogasana practice or our sadhana, whatever kind of sadhana we have, suppose we are moving the bodies and the limbs in a certain way and all that, only then we start developing a certain kind of mastery, right? For example, anga mardana. Anga is the limbs, mardana means to move it in a deliberate way, so we gain mastery over them. So we can, suppose I don't want to move my hand, but it's like moving in its own time, in its own terms. Will it be helpful? Suppose it's starting to slapping you, myself. Like suppose my hand is slapping me all of a sudden, but my intellect is saying that no, do not do anything. Like, as you know that in the mind is called ubhayendriya. It's a dual sensory organ. It's a dual organ because dual sense. Ubhayendriya is dual organ because it connects to the sensory organs to receive the inputs from the outside world through which we interact in the material world, the 5 gates, the 5 senses, and then after the buddhi, it sends the message to the buddhi. After the buddhi analyzes it, then the buddhi tells the mind to give instruction to the karmendriya. The 5 Gyanendriya and the 5 Karmendriya. Gyanendriyas are the doorways to get inputs in our body, sensory inputs. What are those? Eyes, chakshu, karna, ears, nasika is nose, jihva is tongue, and tvak is skin. What are the 5 Karmendriyas? Vak means our speech. Pani is our hand. Pada means our legs. Payu means our anus for excretion. And upastha, our genital organs for procreation of the offsprings, next generation. So these 5 organs of action, the mind gives them instructions. So mind is ubhayendriya. It receives the inputs and then gives the outputs to the karmendriyas to do certain actions. Now, when we are doing intense practice, intense sadhana, that is basically keeping the buddhi, our intellect, in its own place. The charioteer is always present in the chariot. So the senses, the horses cannot go wherever they would like. Okay? It cannot go wherever they would like. They are guided in certain way. They are channelized in certain direction. Okay? So, I just want to say that here in this sutra, it's Maharshi Patanjali is saying, by our intense practice, which can involve mastery like of asanas, of doing like what we are doing every single day, of moving the body in the Surya Namaskar asanas, certain kind of mastery happens over the limbs where the body moves in the way we want it to move. Okay, not that it's moving in its own way. And also the mind, suppose if we are in our sadhana, your sadhana can be, say, for example, now my sadhana is to shoot this video every single day. I know sometimes, like last 2 days, my audio was not captured, so I am re-recording this audio and things like that. Those happen. But I'm just saying that on a general basis, overall, if you have an intent, you can, your sadhana can be showing up every single day in front of the camera and shoot a video. Or your sadhana can be singing a song every single day and record it and progress towards your goal or your ikigai, life purpose. Your sadhana can be anything. It can be your spiritual sadhana also, like your day-to-day task. Like this one I'm talking about, shooting. But when we don't have mastery over the body-mind, then the mind can say, oh, it's too much, like come on, 108 days is too long. You can just stop, nobody is watching, and all sorts of stuff it will cook up. Because if my goal is not for the immediate gratification of having 2 million views in one day, I don't care. As long as I'm doing the right thing and it has value in it, things will pay off in the long run. Even if it does not, I know that I have done what I could do best at that moment, right? So we are not allowing mind to take over. So the buddhi is in its own place. By intense practice, whether it's chanting, mantra chanting, whether it's painting, whatever is your ikigai and whatever are your superpowers, just being engrossed in it every single day. It can be your tapas, it can be your tapasya, intense practice, it can be your austere practices. What is austere practices? Austere practices means it requires some sort of involvement, and involvement means it should be intense, means it creates certain heat, and with that heat all the negativities wipe away of the mind, all the gunks wipe away. For example, if there is some fat tissues in the artery walls, what do? We do some lekhana, scraping, by either medicines like gugulu and things like that, combinations of gugulu, or we do certain kinds of like melting away, giving heating substances, heating herbs, so that it melts away all the accumulations in the arteries, arterial walls, in interior arterial walls, right? So we melt them away. Whatever is built up which is not desired, we can melt it away by heat. Similarly, if the body and the senses, they are not moving by as per our intellectual faculties, if it is going in its own way, that means mind has taken over. So we need to have some sadhana, some tapasya, which even if we don't want to do, we still show up, because that's the part of it which we are talking about as tapasya, intense sadhana, so that the mind becomes within our control again. And when the mind is within our control, means when the reins are in the hands of the charioteer, the buddhi, intellect, which is the power of discrimination, by the way, what is right, what is wrong. When the reins are in the hand of the buddhi, the charioteer, that's when the horses will go in the right direction. Horses means the senses will go in the right path, and when the senses go in the right path, the whole chariot will move in its goal, towards its goal, where the chariot wants to go, right? Where the charioteer has been instructed to go. So what I am saying is that these are all related. Think about the chariot example of our being, right? That horses, that reins, that chariot, the charioteer, the savari, as the senses, the sensory organs, the 5 horses, then the reins is the mind together, then the charioteer is the buddhi, intellect, which decides what is right, what is wrong, and analyzes the situation and takes a decision. Then the savari is our soul, just the passive observer. Okay, so I want to say that this sutra is so powerful because this tells us why one should take up a sadhana, in whatever form. It can be recording videos for a certain number of days straight, back to back. It can be giving your best to your ikigai or to your superpower so that you can move towards your ikigai, whatever it can be for you. Take up some tapas, some austere practices, take up some austerity. And that austerity does not have to be like the same the whole life. It can change based on the situation we are in. Okay, let's take up a tapasya so that we can move toward building a legacy. Okay, so that we are dying only once. There is a short I published. I think you can see the short here in this iCard somewhere here on the top. I told about people die twice. I love this. I learned it from somewhere else. People die twice. Once when they actually die in this mortal world, leave their body, the Atma leaves the body, and the second death happens when the last person talking about that person also dies. Means that person's existence is wiped out. That's gone in oblivion from the whole world. When the person dies himself or herself, and the second death happens when the last person talking about that person dies. So let's take a pledge, let's take up a tapasya that we will create a legacy, so we die only once. Did you like it? Please write me in the comment below how you like this analogy of what can be our motivation of tapasya. The tapasya itself, the motivation can be that our body and senses, those impurities will go away and we will gain a siddhi over them, means mastery over them. But then you might think, what happens if we get mastery? So let's make this happen, that once we get mastery over the body mind, that's when we will create good stuff, not only just trivial good stuff, but such good stuff that we work towards creating a legacy, leaving behind a legacy. Alright, so sutra number 43, kāyendriyasiddhiraśuddhikṣayāttapasah. From being established in austere practices, austerities, or intense spiritual sadhana, or generating heat by those, we melt away all the impurities of the body mind and we gain mastery over them. Body mind in the sense here, body and senses. Okay, in turn, the senses means that they are only functional when the mind is attached to it. So we gain mastery over the body and mind and the senses. Okay, with that, I want to draw a close to this 69th session of the yoga philosophy part in this 108-day Surya Namaskar challenge. I hope you are enjoying. Please write me in the comment section how your journey has been so far. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Please make other people also take advantage of this whole series. I'm sure they would love plenty of things as you are learning, and a simple thing can change somebody's life. And also here will be somewhere here playlist of all the other sessions that I have completed so far. If you haven't watched them, please watch them and make whatever comments you feel it's necessary, and if you have any questions, ask me there. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in the 70th session. Bye bye.